This is my introduction to my review, or more of thoughts on Marvel's Avengers Infinity War. This is really epic. There's so much to talk about this one, and I may end up splitting this in two parts because it's so big. I'm taking a break for my last. I have one more video for my stop motion animation videos. I hope you watch those. It may take a little while for my last part. I've got some really bad sound issues, so I might. It's so bad I might even go back and just redo that last part, that last video. So it may be a while till you get the last part in that series, but stick around because it will happen whether you get the original video or you get a new video. I will talk about that last section, and I know this is coming late, but I will also have a review for Isle of Dogs. I've been talking about that film since pretty much the beginning of the year, and I will have a review for Isle of Dogs. I know the movie's already been out for a while, but I still want to review it, so I've got some more videos coming soon, and so right now, enjoy my review slash thoughts on Avengers Infinity War. This is Kevin at Pope with the Pope's Perspective, and my thoughts on Avengers Infinity War. Now, I'm sure most everybody out there is either of one of two groups. One, either you've already seen Infinity War and you're not going to be watching this review to determine whether or not you're going to go see Infinity War, or you haven't seen Infinity War yet and you don't want any spoilers, so you're not going to be watching this. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm still labeling this a spoiler because I'm talking major Infinity War. I may not be talking about everything, but we're talking about Infinity War spoilers, and this is more of my thoughts on Infinity War because this film is huge. So let's get started. Avengers Infinity War. This is the film that Marvel has been building up to from the beginning. I mean, really, since you could say, like, okay, they planted the seeds from the first Avengers film with the little tease of Thanos, even though a lot of us who aren't familiar with the comics didn't know who he was yet, but they planted the seeds that, okay, there's somebody coming and this guy's up to no good. We know it's not going to be good. But really, I would say that this dates back to the first Iron Man. Whether or not they had the intention to do the Infinity War story or not when they made the first Iron Man, this is the type of thing that they wanted to build up to from the beginning, to create their whole universe of these superheroes and having them intertwine with each other, have films where they're together. That's the Avengers films, but there's actually been other films where they've come and made little cameo appearances, and it's been fun all out. It seems that every other studio is trying to copy the Marvel formula, and they want to get their own movie universe and just kind of, okay, they're doing the MonsterVerse with the King Kong and Godzilla, which I'm curious to see where they're going with that one. I'm a big King Kong fan, so let's see where they bring Kong in that one. Godzilla 2. And then it failed flat with Universal and their monster universe with their, what do they call it, the Dark Universe, and that one, the Mummy film with Tom Cruise, that tanked big time, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And I'm not going to even mention DC. DC, I feel so sorry for DC. I love the characters of DC. I love DC Comics, but they have not been doing very well with their films. But Marvel, they know what they're doing. They know they set this up from the beginning. When they made the first Iron Man film, they're not like, oh, we have to set up everything for the thing. We have to make sure that people know that this is a extended universe. No, they didn't. They set up the first Iron Man film, and at the end of the film, they introduce Nick Fury and saying, this is going to be part of something more. And so they weren't trying to establish the whole thing with one film, but that one film was the first groundwork for the films that came after. And so this is the 19th film. 10 years Marvel has been doing these films, and so hats off to Marvel. They have really created something really cool. I mean, there are just, these films have really, the characters, we've grown to love these characters, to really want to fight for these characters fighting for the world, fighting for us, and the struggles that they're going through. It's been really fun and exciting. Okay, so many people knew these characters before in the comics. A lot of us were introduced to these characters for the first time through Marvel. I guess, I don't know, I didn't expect to do a history of Marvel, but they made something like none other with these films. So I wanted to mention that. So, the film Infinity War. I'm sure everybody's talking about that ending. And it left me thinking, like, whoa. And so I will say this. I figured that the ending was not, this was going to be in the realms of Empire Strikes Back, where it's like, this isn't the end, this is going to lead up to something, we're going to have some sort of cliffhanger, it's not going to end on a happy note. I figured that Thanos was going to get the stones by the end of the film. I did not know we were going to start to see his plan start to come into fruition, and we would see half of humanity, half of not only humanity, the world. This is the universe, the world, everything. He's taken, snap of his fingers, half of it's gone. And so that was a bold move for Marvel. Now, I will say this, I was more left with who they took and the way they did it. Because we know they're doing another Spider-Man film. We know they're going to do another Black Panther film. There'll be more Guardians of the Galaxy. I would love to see some more Doctor Strange as well. So the characters that they went are the secondary Marvel characters, the ones from this Phase 2 and onward. And we're left with Phase 1 characters. And so for me, it's not like, I wasn't so much like, oh, Spider-Man's gone, we're never going to see Spider-Man again. Well, not only Spider-Man is one of the most popular comic book characters ever, and it wasn't so much that I'm like, well, Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man and they let Marvel use them in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sony is not going to let them kill off Spider-Man. Sony's going to want to make more Spider-Man movies. So I figured that, but maybe it's not about that, oh, we're not going to see these characters again. What it's led up to is like, it's taken the characters back to the original core Avengers group. And they'll be trying to figure out how to stop Thanos, how to undo what Thanos has done. And I'm really anxious to see what they do with the next Infinity War film in that regard, whatever the film is called. So I was left in some points upset because I was really wanting to see, I'm like, we haven't experienced loss with Marvel films yet, with a major character death, although we did get them in this one. We lost Loki, which that one was impactful. I think that is one death that I don't think Loki's coming back. I mean, as Thanos put it, you can't resurrect this time. So I'm thinking, which is a sad loss because Loki has been a great character, and seeing his character arc through the different films that he's appeared in, and I'm gonna miss him. I really enjoyed Loki, and he's about the only Marvel villain that I really cared about. Not cared about like, oh, I want this villain to win, but I did care about him, but he's the only one of the villains that I thought was like a really decent villain. Most of the villains have been like, yeah, nothing much. With the exception of, what's his name? Killmonger in Black Panther. That was a good villain. He had such good background on like why he felt the way he did and what he wanted to achieve. He was a good villain. But other than that, Loki's been the only great Marvel villain thus far. And so in fact it was funny, like what I was like thinking in my head when Thanos killed Loki, it's like, well, you just took away Marvel's only good villain, so I hope you're a good villain. Hey, I guess that there are others, but Thanos is a very well put together villain. Like this guy's got a plan, and he has his reasons of why he's doing what he's doing, and he's just not, oh, how can I be evil next, and what's the thing, and like blah 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 blah, and, oh, I'm gonna get this suit and I'm gonna stop you and I want to do all this stuff. It wasn't anything like that. This guy he's nuts. Thanos, like, his plan, I'm watching this, I'm like, you are Hitler. Like, whoa, this is like, his plan is basically like getting rid of like the poverty in the world and anything like, it reminded me so much of Hitler, and that was scary. And so Thanos was like, yes, he is what a villain to come up against. Wow, but we lost Gamora, and that was kind of, there was some impactfulness with that, because Thanos had some feelings for Gamora, which that's one thing I don't fully understand, is I don't know what it was about Gamora, because I love that they showed the backstory with Gamora, when Thanos destroyed her population, killed off her people, but he saved her. And that was one thing I didn't understand. I'm like, why of all of the people that, what was it about this little girl, Gamora? Why did he save her? I'm not fully sure, but I do like that there was something, that it's like he decided to save this one little girl, and then who he adopted as his own daughter, even though she had a very trying time, as anybody would, being Thanos' daughter. Watch the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Well, if you've watched to this point and you have not watched all of the Marvel films, then you want to be caught up to date with this one. Not to say that you're going to miss anything if you miss any of the Marvel films, but you want to be up to date on this one. So I'm assuming that most of you have seen the Guardians of the Galaxy films. If not, you should see them. They're my personal favorite of the Marvel films. And you hear some of the backstory of Gamora in the Guardians films. And so that one but there definitely was moments that you could see there was a humanness to Thanos, even though his plan is horrible. It's off. He has good intentions, but it's a horrible plan. And it's just like, well, for the greater good, where I'm going to get rid of half of all living. I don't know. It's crazy. Thanos is crazy, but he has his reasons. There's a nobleness to it, even though it's horrible. Loki was probably the most impactful death, and then Gamora. And so the other deaths, which they are deaths, but they're not, because we don't know. Did he just snap them away out of existence? Snap them somewhere else? We don't know. All we know is they're gone. Okay, But at the same time, I was a little disappointed that we didn't get any, like, I was like, we know that Captain America and Iron Man, we're probably not going to see too much of them after the Infinity War stuff. So I was really hoping one of them, they almost killed off Iron Man. So close. And I'm not saying that it should have been, but it gave that moment. It's like, okay, they went with one of them, and then they reversed it. So you did get that climactic moments, like, oh wow, they're going for this, but then they reversed it. So Iron Man didn't die, and so I'm a little bit at a mix with this. So hopefully, we don't know what's going to happen in the next one. So maybe I still think we need to see some more loss. I know it's a horrible for me to say that. I'm not saying that we should have that in the real world, but when you're creating something in these films, you need to feel some realness in a sense of loss. And I did not feel, apart from Loki, really, Loki was physically killed. He wasn't killed by the Infinity Stones. Loki was physically killed, so Loki was a loss that we're not getting back. And it's amazing. It's a lot. This is a loss from someone who was a villain, who's gone from villain to hero, but Loki was a loss. Okay, but of the heroes, we haven't really got a loss of, like, they're not coming back. And because like I said, the other ones, like, we lost them, but we didn't lose them, because the ones that are gone, we know they're gonna make certain films, and that it's almost to a disadvantage in my mind, because I already know there's gonna be more films with those characters, whereas the other ones that they could have taken, we wouldn't have known if there were gonna be more films with them or not, so it would have been a loss. And it's kind of my problem with a lot of superhero films, because there isn't a sense of a loss in there. But I guess I'm wrong, because like I said, Loki was a loss. And so, yeah, this is a film that really takes processing and just thinking, like, you gotta see it, then you gotta think about it, and then see, like, I'm actually glad that I waited a couple days until I did this, so I can really process through this. This film was epic. Like, so many different superheroes, so many, and it was fun to see them all. I understood that with so many characters in one film, they weren't going to get, everybody was going to be able to get a lot of screen time. I understood that. Although those that did get a lot of screen time, I was very impressed with how much screen time. It's like, okay, we got a lot with Iron Man, we got a lot with Doctor Strange, which, by the way, I am really enjoying Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. He made that little cameo in Thor Ragnarok, and I'm really enjoying watching Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. I mean, it almost feels like he's been playing this character that's been around for like hundreds of years, and just the way he plays the character, he's a really fun character. And Benedict Cumberbatch, he's Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange. And so, and which Doctor Strange also gave us that little glimpse of, like, okay, there's something else coming. Like, Doctor Strange went into the future, or he foresaw different future possibilities of how they could defeat Thanos. And after all of these millions of options, there was one that worked. Which, I don't know, would there really be so many possibilities of something that only one out of millions? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, so I can't say. But I think it is intriguing. And so Doctor Strange knew what he was doing, because when I first saw the film and he traded the stone for Iron Man's life, I was like, wait a minute. He said to Tony Stark and to Peter Parker, know this. If it comes to choosing between your lives or the stone, I'm choosing the stone. I will do everything within my power to protect this stone. And so when he gave up the stone for Iron Man's life, at first I'm thinking, wait a minute, you hardly even know him. Why are you trading the stone But then after I thought about it for a while, it took me a while. This may not have been until the next day when I thought about this. Like, wait a minute. He saw every different possibility, so he knew what he was doing. He knew there was something, and so which I actually like that because Doctor Strange is one of the characters who goodbye. So we can't see Doctor Strange's plan. We can't see what he knew. So the characters that are left are gonna have to figure out on their own.